Boom! We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us on another episode. This is Tiho and the Arcane Bear. We're going to go over our favorite sentiments over the crypto space, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Link today. Primarily featured, again, followed secondarily by the group and community chat. So remember, every day, guys, what we do is go over the first bit of charts so that way anyone listening later on can get the data that they want. And then for the latter part of this episode is all live stream conversation with the community where we go over your guys' thoughts and interests. So if you're new to the channel and you want to join in the live streams later, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so that when anytime we do these, you guys get notified. So straight into Bitcoin's chart, what we can see right now is the 4 hour. No wasting any time here. Well, here, what looks to be the spring. Now, for those of you that joined us on yesterday's live stream, what I was kind of highlighting, and again, remember that I'm always learning and always willing to learn more during this process. One of the things that I had said yesterday would be really nice to emphasize the spring would be volume that was similar to the size of the primary shakeout, and this would equate to our spring. So I had hypothesized that we had seen phase A, we were headed into we had just finished phase B and headed into phase C, which is highlighted again by this spring. Now there can be different variations, but because we are looking at one of the market leaders, you get very clear signals. And as you can see, lo and behold, we had volume and supply come into the market that was equal to that of the original shakeout. Now we're going to zoom in on some of the time frames, but before we leave the 4 hour and this larger trading range, one of the conjectures that some of our private bear group had gone over is like, oh, well, is this a rounded top? Are we seeing distribution? We can actually look at that a little further because rounded tops, as we had looked at this primary trading range up here before we broke down to 29,000, I do believe we are seeing a larger trading range. And there's a very clear reason for that. So let me go ahead and we're going to take a look at this. So for those of you who don't know, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with $7.81 trillion under management, said they're getting into Bitcoin this week. The firm has filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for 2 of its funds to invest in Bitcoin futures. So BlackRock gets into Bitcoin. Let me say that one more time. $7.81 trillion moving into this sector. Not all of it, obviously, but they're going to be opening their private fund. But these people manage an enormous amount of money. So what we want to, again, do is remember we are in a bull market. This is leading to bullish sentiment. We have a lot of indicators that are screaming we're going to go up. Okay, so back to our trading view sentiment. Could we go lower? Yes. But this spring is exactly what we were looking for, and we touched it quite beautifully. So as we go into the 45-minute, the other thing I want to point out here, this is another great lesson of our trading range and our volume supply analysis. So for those of you that have been doing your homework, you will already know the trading range quite well. But more importantly, we want to go over something in the area of supply and demand that we like to call effort versus result. And that means how much effort is going into the market and what does that result yield in the area that we're looking at. So primarily, as you can see, this first downswing of volume candles brought in by this supply, right? But as we look closer and closer, look at these similar amounts of volume and the limited price spread. So again, effort versus result. Well, here's the effort. This is the supply coming into the market. And then here was the result. This larger price spread that we can see here. So again, this is a really important part to understand, although I do believe it is secondary to understanding the trading range. If you're new to this type of mentality, just get the horizontal trading range in your mind first. There's so many complexities to trading analysis and investing. You're building like an archway. And you want to build it one block at a time, and there are keystone pieces. But unless you put the blocks in properly at the bottom, your keystones are rather useless to have, right? So even though effort versus result is a keystone, focus primarily at least on seeing the potentials of these larger trading ranges and what they represent, because again, I believe we are moving into phase C, which is the spring. So because this offers us a great learning opportunity, number one, you can see we hit up against resistance twice here before coming down. But more importantly, what we did see was this big spread. Again, this was the result, and here was the effort, the amount of supply coming into the market. As we moved further and further down here, you can see the limited price spread, the result, and the amount of effort that came in to create that. So this, to me, I believe, was the bottom of the spring. And look, lo and behold, it aligns pretty much perfectly with our primary support. Now, we've gone over this a few times, that reaccumulation can be recognized in multiple areas. This was the schematic I think we're going through for Ethereum. But schematic 1 is what I believe that we're witnessing for Bitcoin. And again, compare some of the sentiments here. Here you have your horizontal trading range on the top and the bottom, right? Like this. Different color, I guess, for me today. I'm on blue right now, apparently. And our primary support. So we still may see a little bit further of a gap down. Maybe one more big volume bar to come up here would be nice to see, like this, again, as we kind of gone over this yesterday, and really test the bottom of this primary support. And this is important because, again, if we look here, phase A, our primary support, is usually characterized by phase C, our spring. So this area and this area together are extremely important. Now, one of the things I want to recommend to everyone is take your fucking time. Be patient when you're learning. I had a few people like, oh my God, I went all into Bitcoin, like blah, 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 blah. Well, you failed the first most important part of being an investor, which is to be patient, to be calm, and execute a campaign like a general. You show up every month and you execute into what you believe to be undervalued assets based off the trading ranges. That's a smart thing to do. Investing all at once and then getting worried and then wanting to sell, that's like the noob and retail thing to do. But again, one of the plus sides is when we go back here and we go, oh, wait, so you're telling me people that have trillions of dollars in investment under management are getting into Bitcoin? We're still at the beginning stages of this. We haven't even seen these other bigger players show up to the table yet. Now, there's an argument that because they're investing in futures, they could want to short it, but that's probably not the case yet. It would be silly to short this limited supply asset in the early stages of its bull market. So I do suspect that what we are witnessing is, again, this much larger trading range. So I'm calm and patient, and I actually took a little bit of a leverage position in Ethereum as we hit the bottom of the spring as well. So let's jump into Ethereum. Now, Ethereum also, I have taken the time to label it, and this is what I mean about being patient. Go through, label phase A, label your primary support highlighted by PS, label your buying climax highlighted here by BC, label your shakeout or your automatic rally here labeled by SO-AR, mark your secondary test, and your spring. Now look again, this is the interesting part that we want to go over. Volume and price spread. Here's the amount of volume that came in from our original shakeout in Ethereum. And here's the amount of volume that came in during the spring. Now we could get another little dip down here, but look how well we're obeying the current point of control, at least for this particular trading range. If we stay above this point of control, bing, bang, boom, Ethereum is on its way out the door. And this again can be categorized by what we had looked at yesterday, which is reaccumulation schematic 3. Now, again, remember, this is kind of like hunting an animal in the wild. You might see a bear's paw at one point and then notice that the grizzly bear, the Kodiak bear, the spectacle bear, or the polar bear have a slightly different footprint. So these are kind of idealized schematics. They are not identical, right? So this spring doesn't actually come below the top of the trading range here in phase C. Here we did. We actually hit the point of control quite beautifully. So it's important, again, to remember that when you're doing these types of trading analysis, you're not trying to find like one footprint that matches the exact other footprint. You're looking for the similarities and the quality of the print to know, hey, that's a bear print. Like, I can tell. Maybe it's a black bear, maybe it's a grizzly bear or Kodiak. You have all these different styles of print, and being able to discern those two takes usually much more time. So for now, let's use the general characteristics so we know, oh, it's probably a bear footprint. Which bear footprint? I don't know, but it's probably a bear print. So again, even though we've gone into the trading range, somewhat dissimilar to what we were looking at this idealized version of schematic 3, phase C right now, I believe, has started. And again, it's been highlighted by this massive amount of supply that's coming into the market that is relative in some way, shape, or form to our primary shakeout. So we can draw a horizontal line here, we can circle our volume shakeout, and again, where we are. So let's take an even closer look at Ethereum right now on the 45-minute and make a little bit more conjecture about these smaller timeframes. So here, this is another great opportunity to measure the volume and price spread. I can probably, if I hide everything, I won't be able to draw anymore. So let's just straighten this out because I'm a little OCD. And we're going to take our drawing tool, and as you can see, we actually saw a climactic selling process come in, and you can see the price spreads take place too. Limited price spread, and even more so here, right? This was the price spread. So and now the final one here too. So this is a law of effort versus result. Every time there was more effort coming in and less result in the price spread. Actually, as a matter of fact, the price spread was almost identical. So it's comparable to being less, at least in my mind and interpretation. Currently, our Heiken Ashi charts have turned green, which is also another flavor of the trend change. Now, I want to go over something by going out again on the larger time frame to Ethereum here, and we're going to make a little bit of use of the CryptoVac. So, you know, guys, we're going to start offering more. We have some free indicators that you guys can use. I generally don't think that you should use indicators unless you're pretty advanced into the trading like course and understanding and educational aspect. Otherwise, you're just adding noise to your screen. So really, these fundamentals of the trading range and the volume supply characteristics are like primary. Secondarily, what we can do is use some of this more minutia data. So we're going to open up the CryptoVac here. Now the CryptoVac does two things. It shows us kind of our Bollinger Band, and it shows us our primary support lines. So if we hide the drawing here, you can see highlighted by this yellow line that moves through, this was our primary resistance. And look, it also lines up perfectly with our point of control, which represents the area of the most buying and selling in this particular region of Ethereum. Now we've stubbed right up into this area, and we've fallen back into the general Bollinger Band, or the ATR. And again, we've almost touched the bottom of it here on this particular spring. So we still could come a little lower. Again, this band is currently operating between 1390 and 1130. So I'm looking for maybe we get another bud up against the bottom of this band at around the 1140, 1120, maybe even 1090 area, depending on how thin the wicks are we're looking at. But we found support perfectly at the resistance line of the ATR as well as the point of control. So again, it confirms my thesis, at least for this particular moment, that what we're witnessing is not a UTAD or an upthrust and distribution effectively, right? So one of the difficult parts about reaccumulation is that both trading ranges can actually look very similar. So let's make some conjecture, right? And this is, I think, a very valuable lesson to understand. Right now, we're looking at reaccumulation schematics. These are schematics that lead to a bullish upturn. The downside is that they can often look very similar to distribution. So here, you can have a movement up into the trading range, and look how schematic one moves up into the top and then breaks down, right? So essentially what we could we be witnessing a distribution? That's a really big part of the question. And one of the important parts here is to understand the trading range and to move with the bias first, which we're in a bull market. That's our first bias. Great, we should remain generally bullish. Okay, fantastic, that's solved. But again, more importantly, we want to watch what happens in phase C, as phase C is usually the opposite of a spring. And that's what we call a UTA, or a UT test in white coffee in theory. So right now, I think we're breaking up above the box and going to continue higher. Now, let's argue against that for a sec. Let's go, hey, you're wrong, Tio. We're actually going down. That was a UTA test. Well, can we disprove that? And how would we do that if that were the case? So we actually want to use that law of effort versus result, again, one more time, which is the understanding here that the amount of volume that came in to produce this upthrust should have been much higher than this volume. So generally, if you're looking for a distributive pattern or a pattern that will be bearish, you would want to see something similar to these primary support volume candles that came in, which we did not see. We actually rose off less volume outside of the box. Now, if these volume candles had been much higher and did something like this, that would lead me to believe that we were bearish, because what you're seeing is diminished price action to the upside with the amount of effort that came in due to the volume that we would look at down here. So currently, I don't feel very confident in arguing a bearish sentiment. I feel much more confident in arguing the bullish sentiment, which is that we saw a massive amount of supply come in and a limited price spread start to occur effectively here as well, which we looked at on the 45-minute. So when we're going through this type of sentiment analysis, I want everyone to remember two things: patience and repetition. Learning how to judge a reaccumulation pattern versus a distributive pattern like we were looking at here, reaccumulation versus potential distribution, because look, they can look eerily similar into phase C. Please recognize phase C up here versus the phase C that we're witnessing right here. The only climactic difference that we can make any type of basis around at this moment is the fact that there was less volume that brought us above the bar, right? And that's important because that brings us back to our mantra of effort versus result. And the only way you can do that is patience and repetition. So because it's actually very difficult to use reaccumulation and distribution schematics, what I recommend everyone do who's studying, look for accumulation schematics. So we'll take one final look here at Bitcoin before we go into Link. And we're going to do that today by zooming out a really long ways and taking this conjecture. Actually, I'm going to have to open up my other Bitcoin chart, this one. Okay, so here's the Earth. And you're thinking, dang, that's a sweet Earth, right? Who remembers that? You'll have to be at least 30, I think, to remember that. Anyways, point of this. If we look back here, this was our primary reaccumulation or accumulation pattern. We saw our selling climax, our automatic rally, our secondary test, our spring, our first test, our LPS, and then our sign of strength. And now I believe what we're witnessing is our first real backup phase, effectively, which is crazy that it has so much strength. It just goes to show how much strength this sector has. But if you're learning and you're studying, instead of trying to chart something that's in motion, like a bear that's running and you're like, get half paw footprints coming out in the snow, go back and rechart what has already happened. Do the same thing for Ethereum. Go back and don't look at the 4 hour. Go much further out. And actually, we're going to have to look at the other Ethereum chart too to make this one relevant. Yes, and look at these accumulation patterns, because it is going to be much easier for you to study retrospectively and chart your first automatic rally, your secondary test, your spring, highlighted by massive amount of supply coming into the market but limited price spread, your backup phases, the declination of the volume throughout that phase, like here, before we see more volume coming in, and then massive price spread. And look at the effort versus result that we're getting now. It is much easier for you to go back and retrospectively make an analysis than it is to do what we're doing right now, which is to make an analysis on the fly. If you are new to this, you will most likely fail. So just don't do it, because failure kind of sucks the first few times. So why not go do something that's going to be more successful, which is learn retroactively. So I really suggest that everyone that's new here, don't try to chart things as they're happening. Go back and try to chart something that's already happened, because then you will be able to identify your spring, your backup phase, your SOS that much easier. I think it is extremely important to be able to do that, and that is the best way to do so. So currently, again, I believe we are in a spring for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and now we will take a look at Link. So Link is a little bit of a complex player, and I made some conjecture yesterday talking about overall price gains since March. I didn't actually bring Link on the board, so let's just take a look at Link for fun and talk about it. So if you measure from March, which was our characterized spring, you have an 1,800% gain from March to today. That's amazing. That's an 18x gain. That's 8 times higher than Bitcoin has performed since March. Now, I'm not saying you should invest in Link over Bitcoin. What I'm saying is it's always important to look at the broad market and understand who the market leaders are. Link is a market leader. Any of the maximalists who don't understand what Link is yet don't have a clue about how technology works. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. So let's do some retrospective study. Currently, I believe what we're witnessing is the final backup phase in Link. I'm going to clean this up here, getting rid of the crypto back. And we're going to look at this trading range on the 4 hour. Now, again, this is the retrospective study that can be so difficult, because Link is one of those ones where I was having a little bit of trouble going, okay, well, I guess we're using blue now instead of green. That's okay. And where's the trading range? This was kind of one of the difficult parts, is where is this trading range, right? And this is one of the important parts about going back retroactively, because it's not always easy to tell. It's usually much often easier to find in the bigger market players. That's why Bitcoin and Ethereum are providing such clear footprints in the sand. It's because they're huge. They're huge players. And Link is getting there, but Link has been full of retail investors like, oh, I'm a Link Marine. Well, that's stupid. It sounds like you joined a cult. I suggest you actually become a better investor instead of joining a cult. You'll make more money. But nonetheless, Link has actually provided great results and great yield because, again, it is amazing technology that's important for this entire ecosystem. So I'm not bashing Link. I'm just bashing cultish behavior because it doesn't pay off well in the long run. So where is the trading range? And this was a really important one to go over. And what I want to do is take a look at it now, because I actually believe that what I had made a mistake of previously was thinking that the trading range started back there. And I don't think it did. I think that this is the actual trading range. I think it's been much shorter. And this is the reason why. I think that we saw our primary buying climax up here, our first basically distribution moment, our primary support, and then our selling climax. And the reason why I believe that, and I kind of made a mistake here, always learning, just trust me on that, I'm always learning, is that this price spread from the top to the bottom was 64%. And that should be a notable change in character, right? So I believe afterwards is when we saw our automatic rally here. So I believe we actually just started this trading range where I was trying to chart this as the primary trading range as a rising gradient bottom. And I was incorrect. And one of the reasons why I look back retrospectively and realize that I was probably incorrect is if I look at this much thinner area as the trading range for Link, and we'll drag this up here so it's a little bit cleaner. This moment right here, where we had this massive amount of supply come in and limited price spread, this was probably phase C, this was the amount of phase B, and this was phase A back here. So something like this, C, and we had D, and now we are just finally into E, where we are seeing our primary backup. So with Link is about to explode as well. It is a main industry player. It fits at the top of the sector alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum, at least in my understanding from the people that are smarter than me in the tech world who have told me that. And I go, hey, you know what? You've spent your life studying those things. I'm just going to take your word for it because I've spent my life studying these other things. And together, this looks like a much clearer story. So again, I think we're in the final stages of the SOS and backup phase for Link, which means we'll probably see a reaccumulation like this. We'll have something similar to what we're seeing in Ethereum, and then a huge breakout move coming. Right now, we're shaking out all those Link Marine weak hands retailers who don't know a thing about trading and basically probably bought back here at the all-time high. And they're finally like, oh my God, I should have been in Bitcoin the whole time because that would have made me more money, instead of just making a confident trade and being like, I'm here for 5 to 10 years. No rush. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I'm trying to build a portfolio. And because of that, I'm going to invest monthly instead of investing all at once. And taking the idea of, hey, this is like going to the gym. I just want to get jacked over the course of a decade and not try to do it all in one motherfucking night, because that's never going to work. And I think it's important to do that. Otherwise, the entire point of the market goes like right over your head. And then you miss out on one of the most important parts about being an investor, which is that long-term strategy and the ability to actually learn and educate yourself throughout time. So that's my conjecture on Link right now. I do believe we are in the final stages of its backup and forming its new reaccumulation channel. I'm going to be patient for that one. Again, we had a spring down to $8, and we from the spring to the SOS is already 198%. So that volatility, that spread is much too high for me to want to be able to play, whereas Ethereum is offering us a much easier potential in terms of like liquid spread, which for me as someone who's interested in like home run or like grand slam plays is just easier. Now, interesting to see that again, the further we zoom out, you can tell that the point of control is actually lower. That's why we're charting just this trading range right now. What we want to do is keep a really close eye on this, because look, I could be wrong. We could get invalidated here. We could see another big upthrust with a massive amount of buy volume come in, not make it much higher, and then invalidate and become a distribution pattern. Although I don't believe that's the case, because again, if we go back to part number 1, this is a bull market. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, so that was the end of the first part of our episode today. Again, remember, we're going to always break these into 2 parts, so that way we get to go over all the important stuff. At least that way whoever watches these videos later on down the stream doesn't have to listen to all the community banter. And then in the second part of this half, or this show, we go over all the fun parts with you guys, and we get to go over questions and answers and chat with some of the people in the community. So thank you guys for joining us on the first half of the episode, and we're going to dive into the questions. So if you are on the live stream right now or watching later on down the stream, remember to give us those thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We are only like 100 people away from breaking 30,000, and that's like a pretty big milestone for Buddha and I. So like Buddha and Ganesh and myself would be very grateful if you could subscribe to the channel, because 30,000 is a pretty ridiculous number. The fact that these videos get like 6,000 to 10,000 views is in itself astronomical, because that's often more people that go to a music festival. So remember, we have more people watching than go to a music festival on average. That's just crazy talk. Okay, thank you guys. We're going to dive into the questions and thoughts. I'm going to leave Bitcoin open on the chart. And we'll actually go back to our the one that we were charting on on this area here. Nice. Denise Moreno says, here's 10,000 CLP from Venezuela, Venezuelan and Chile. Well, Denise, thank you for the super chat. We will make a donation to Kiva here. We'll wait closer to the end of the episode. I appreciate that. And good on you for leaving Venezuela and moving to Chile, because I know that would be a difficult place to be right now in terms of trying to find things that are productive and worth sticking around for. So congratulations on seeing the downside and getting out of there. I'm sure that's a hard thing to do, is witness your country fall into dismay through improper leadership and money printing. Hey, something the United States is doing right now. But I'm not worried about politics, although it can lead to the downside. I just try to stay away from those countries. Okay. So let's take a look at some of your guys' thoughts and questions as we roll into the second half of this episode. I'm going to take my iPad over here so I can see the chat a little bit easier. And we're just going to screw up just a tiny little bit. It looks like your Twitter account is down, Tiho. Really? Let's take a look at that. Hey, there you go. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter by going to twitter.com/thearcanebear. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's instagram.com/arcanebear, or you can just search us, Arcane Bear. We're pretty much the only people that show up. I would be pretty positive that I'm the only person that created the Arcane Bear brand. So check us up and out from these other perspectives. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the shout outs to take a look at the social media. Oh, here's another good thing to go over. Remember, guys, Ethereum Futures launches on February 8th. It's pretty big news. Could go either way. Still waiting to see. But currently, I'm leaning towards that bullish bias from our first question of what kind of market are we in? Oh, yeah, we're in a bull market. Okay, next question. Where the gems at, lads? You know, here's one of the kind of disasterful things about these like low market cap gems that everyone's looking for. I want monstrous gains. It's a really unhealthy format of thinking. I mean, even venture capitalists know that you're talking about 10 years of playtime before you get anything useful. So I would definitely recommend thinking in longer formats. Otherwise, you're most likely going to fail. Ian Gifford says, hey, sorry to say 3 of those subs were from me, Tio. I subbed with all 3 of my YouTube accounts. Thank you. Whatever gets us closer to 30,000, I appreciate that. KNC and Band. Okay, we'll go over KNC and Band, as they are both updates that we sent out to our private members. So thank you for that there, Wendell. Are you in our private group? I believe you are, because I believe that's why you're asking about those 2 specifically. Keep the short. I don't short in a bull market. That sounds like an absolute insanity of someone who's a day trader. And for those, again, this is why I suggest you guys read Jesse Livermore. You can just go Jesse Livermore. He made hundreds of millions of dollars trading. Let's see, here we go. He's got some great quotes too. 50 famous quotes by the great trader Jesse Livermore. Definitely go read the book Reminiscence of a Successful Stock Operator, a story about Jesse Livermore's life. Let's see. Let's look at some of these quotes. There's a good one I wanted to go over. I wish I wasn't trying to find these on the fly. Yeah. Okay, here we go. The average man doesn't want to be told that it's a bull or a bear market. What he desires is to be told specifically which particular asset to buy or sell. He wants to get something for nothing, and he does not wish to work. He doesn't even wish to have to think. But what we really mean to tell you is that the big money is not in these individual fluctuations. Like who the fuck would short Bitcoin from $33,000 to 30 grand? Someone who's probably a short-term day trader. And again, you can make enormous amounts of money from those big swings. So why would you want to show up and trade every day? It's kind of foolhardy. Again, I really highly suggest reading Jesse Livermore. Look, study people who have made hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, like Jim Simmons. Study Jim Simmons. Don't even follow me. Follow people like Jim Simmons, a mathematician who created, again, this is the most successful trader investor ever. He's more than Warren Buffett, more than Ray Dalio, more than Paul Krugman. All these motherfuckers didn't make anything compared to Jim Simmons, and you will never hear his name. You need to study the people that made enormous amounts of money. Jim Simmons made $23.5 billion trading high frequency, but it wasn't him. They designed algorithms. He hired some of the world's best mathematicians, astrophysicists, people that could predict the aphelion of comets going around the sun. And he said, hey, look, all we have to do is be able to get into the market and out of the market for trends, and they are the best performing fund in history, right? They're not shorting in these oh, I'm a short from 33 grand. No, if you're going to play at that level, first off, they're playing with hundreds of billions of dollars to get in and out of the market. Big difference. If you're new to investing, just follow the market trend, which is ultimately still bullish. Shorting in these short time frames is probably just going to get you wrecked because you're literally trying to short an asymmetric bet, which is probably one of the dumbest things you could do as a trader. If you want to short when we get to the very top and we're like at $28,000, you want to have options and put calls to protect your portfolio. That's smart. But shorting these little like dinky plays, it seems like a noob move. That's what it reminds me of. Look, we could have made an extra $5,000 on a trade from going from 33K, but that's a noob move. You're like, oh yay, $5,000, when you could make hundreds of thousands of dollars on the upside swing trades. So just ignore that. How do you think stacking block 3 will change the volatility of the market? I have no idea what that means. Sorry, Mark Hill. Let's make a $100 Kiva donation today. Anybody else want to super in at a few bucks? Nice, thanks for that, guys. I got 40 bucks on there right now. So if you guys do make a bigger super chat, you're gonna have to wait because I don't like loading money up on Kiva in the midst of a live stream because then it means I have to like log in and it takes time. I just don't want to do that right now. But we will, if you make that again today, we will do it again tomorrow, if that makes sense. Condre Silva says, if I buy stocks on Smith's tip, oh yeah, nice. This is another great Jesse Livermore quote. Condre Silva is quoting Jesse Livermore here, says, if I buy stocks on Smith's tip, I must sell those same stocks on Smith's tips, and I am depending on him. And suppose Smith is away for the holiday and selling time comes around. What are you going to do? It's really important to study those people who have made hundreds of millions of dollars. It'll do a great deal. Or even better, people like Jim Simmons, who you will have probably never heard of. This is probably the first time you've ever heard of Jim Simmons. And he made the most money, hundreds, 26 billion. So what is that? Thousands of millions? Thousands of hundreds of millions or something like this? Absolute insanity. Kiva, in my sister's name. Thank you, guys. We've got 40 bucks in there today left over from the 100 we did yesterday. So we'll max out. And I'll keep just putting more money on there as you guys make super chats. I appreciate that. Thank you. Simon says, thank you for your detailed answer. I appreciate it. I hope that was helpful. ADA or DOT, and what is your estimation of ETH by the end of the year? My long-term estimations of breakout for Ethereum is around the $6,000 to $8,000 area, but I don't want to try to pick like the year because of fluctuations of market, but let's say 100 grand Bitcoin by August, just for fun. It's not actually, I don't know if I believe that myself, but we'll just say that for fun because everybody wants to hear it, I'm sure. Awesome. Okay, so Band and KNC are two things that we sent out to our private group in the last few days. So if you guys want, join our private group by the links below, arcanebear.com/private. Remember, it's a no risk for you. If you join and you're not happy, we'll just give you a refund because we don't need your money, but we do use it to help build and make the group more effective for everybody by producing higher levels of educational courses. We've hired a new writer. Shout out to Baloo for helping us write more and more content on our weekly Bear Forage. And that's what we're going to go over right now, are two of the updates that we sent out around the weekly Bear Forge by taking a closer look at both BAND and KNC. And then that's going to be the end of the episode today, because it is super sexy outside right now. And if you can probably tell by my photos on both Twitter and Instagram, it's like, I definitely want to be outside because it is sexy outside right now. And I don't care how much money I'm making. It's like the outside is way more important to me than the money at the end of the day. So KNC, we sent out as a private update. So I'll show you guys what these private updates look like. This is the private update that went out to our private members on Tuesday, I believe. This one is going over Kyber Network, written again by Blue. So what Blue and I do is we go out and him and I search for something and we go, well, which one of these looks the best? This one. We're like, and last week I'm like, hey, Kyber Network is going to throw down. Let's do this. Blue does a fantastic job. I really appreciate that he's joined the team, and I really look forward to more and more like us creating more and more together. So Blue went through, he created this fantastic PDF here. And again, as you can see, our signal, well, not a signal because we're not a signals group, but this educational PDF saying, well, here you go. Here's your change of character, your automatic rally, your up thrust, your spring, your break across the creek, your primary SOS. This is around $1.29. And again, this is an educational PDF, not a signals PDF. What we're trying to do is highlight areas of the market that are important to understand. Here is our primary LPS. Nice. Robert Yates. Okay, I'm going to keep going over this. Robert Yates just gave $159 A. Is that Australian? Thank you. Okay, tomorrow we're going to fund almost an entire, we're going to like buy out almost an entire entrepreneur's funding, and we'll lend it to a beautiful woman who's trying to build, like, I don't know, make more clothing or something. Robert Yates, shout out to that. I really appreciate that you guys can make contributions to us, and then we can make direct contributions to Kiva. And we're going to do that at the end of today's episode, but I want to finish going over KNC. So again, this idea went out when we were at $1.29. I guess I can just hit trading view. There we go. And we're currently sitting at $1.41. So that entry spot was at the bottom of this range here, and it's up 20%. Now again, these are educational PDFs. We're not trying to get signals out like, oh, this is a buy signal. What we're trying to do is get each of you who are studying these horizontal trading ranges to be able to come up with your own assertions about what's going on in the market. And then from there, make a confident decision based off what you're seeing. So KNC is currently sitting at $1.39. We're seeing a lot, like, look how powerful that volume signal is. What I would like to see is a little bit more of a reaccumulation and then a declination of the volume here, probably around to a back near that $1.20, and then likely continue higher. Band, we sent out 2 weeks. Oh, hold on. There you go. Now you guys can see the chart. Thank you for that. So here is KNC. So again, what we're trying to do is help everyone understand these horizontal trading ranges, these SOSs, the backup, and then the continued breakout. KNC continued to produce these higher lows through this channel. It produced its spring here, and now we're seeing a massive amount of volume come in, really trying to test this point of control line that we were looking at here as well. Next, we're going to go over Band, and then we're going to end the episode with Kiva. So keep that in mind. Wait, still no chart? No, you guys can see the chart now. You guys can definitely see the chart now, right? Yeah, okay, yes. So again, Band is right near, okay, so this is what we had drawn up with Band last week. Band was another one that we had sent out, although Band we sent out at around $5.20, I believe, went out to the private group. Although I did make a mistake, it was not everyone was tagged in that. I fixed that though, so that will never happen again, I apologize. I'm still learning how to operate an e-commerce website, apparently. was never my intention. Okay, so Band, we were looking at another beautiful horizontal trading range. We were looking at this inverse head and shoulders and this primary SOS, and now what looks to be the start of this reaccumulation pattern here. So this is a fairly volatile trading range, but I think what we're about to witness right now is the start of the spring before the continuation of this bull market in general. So it's not over yet. I'm right back near my entries, which are around 7.7. But again, we're seeing this this support line here is important one to keep an eye on. As you can see, we touch it here and here. Okay, beautiful. Those are the two that we went over. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the support. To all of you that made super chats today, like I said, tomorrow's episode we will give a bigger one, but I'm only going to give away what we have in our current Kiva portfolio today. I'll reload it tomorrow because it takes time. I got to go through PayPal, I got to do passwords, and I don't want to do that right now. I also want to give a shout out to Gary, who I believe is in this live chat, who joined the Arcane Bear team. So you can join the Arcane Bear team. Those are in the links below. And you guys can make donations to Kiva together with us so we can help fund entrepreneurs. Here was the entrepreneur we funded yesterday, Akalia, and shout out to Gary for making a loan to Vilma. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Lend. We're going to pick women because they are the most responsible to make loans to. You know, I don't want to go too deep in that. And here, Guatemala. I love Guatemala. It's one of my favorite countries. Here's another one for Guatemala. Let's see here. Yeah, let's just, well, what happened? Okay, so I'm not sure what happened there, guys. I want to go, okay, Lend, women. I'm not sure why I just reset that screen. We'll go Lend now to the Mujeres de Zapatan group. We're going to, let's see if I can give that $40. So let me do that. Check out now. Okay, there we go. We can go $50. I can only make the $25 loan today. We're going to have to re-up our Kiva account tomorrow, guys. Thank you all for the super chats. So we hit continue. Oh, no. God, I have to log in again. Okay, back to my face for just a quick second. I'm not sure why Kiva does this, but that's okay. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they're a nonprofit organization and they rely on people like us to help support them. So I'll re-log in again, Kiva, for no reason, even though I logged in 10 minutes ago. Before I started, an hour ago, before I started this stream. Okay, back to this loan. We'll complete that order to the Mujeres de Zapatan group in Guatemala. Oh, I didn't even read their story. We should go back. I want to know more about their story. Mujeres de Zapatan group. Okay, so right now we just helped make a loan. So again, Kiva is a nonprofit organization that helps underbanked and underserved entrepreneurs around the world, to women or people around the world who would never be able to get a loan from their bank because they don't meet the qualifications. So this is one of our ways to help give back during this pandemic, and we will continue to do this throughout the life cycle of Arcane Bear. And as a matter of fact, it is the driver and the reason why we still do this stuff. So we did, the Mujeres de Zapatan is a small convenience store. For basic goods. They're found everywhere in rural Guatemala. I love Guatemala. I lived there for 4 years. It's one of my favorite places. All this, like that sweater I was wearing the other day with the nice colors, it's all from Guatemala. As you can see, similar stuff here. So owned by Sandra. She's a 31-year-old single mother of 7 who owns the small shop. And over time, Sandra has diversified her business. Besides the store, she also makes and sells textiles and has an omelet and sells catalog. Has an omelet store. I'm assuming she produces like a restaurant. That's what they're trying to say here. She went to school until 9th grade, and she comments that the restrictions that were taken in Guatemala due to the coronavirus has severely affected her business. However, having several businesses, she was able to still get ahead, and it is essential to her to keep her shelves well stocked during this difficult time. So this loan is to help her buy products for basic baskets, several more sacks of corn, and a variety of more threads to fill out her store. So she's a member of the Puente Amistad Community Bank, and they're originally from the Department of State of Chimaltenango. It's a beautiful portion of Guatemala. Actually, for those of you that don't know, like Chimaltenango, like definitely check out Guatemala. It's a super sexy place. So it's full of these huge, beautiful volcanoes and this kind of like somewhat rustic colonial build, but it's full of indigenous people. So this is where Lake Atitlan is where I spent 6 years living. And it's just Chimaltenango is kind of just northeast of this beautiful lake here. So thank you guys for helping support the channel and all the super chats. We will make sure we are up to date on that. I appreciate this. You guys are fantastic. I do believe everything rolled smoothly for today's episode. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being able to go through all these long live streams with us. All your guys' support, your likes, your comments, your shares make all the difference in us being able to grow the potential of what we do as the core of our mission. So it means the world to me. Again, thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, all that fun stuff. This is T with the Arcane Bear. Thanking you, both Buddha and Ganesh here. Also thank you as well. And we'll see you guys again on the next episode.